Pastor Mike Rafferty is a long-standing member of the Assemblies of God, and recently, I believe he's been to India and you received an honorary doctorate, is that correct?
Yeah.
Tell me what it was.
They bestowed upon my wife Rosalind and I a doctorate of divinity, an honorary doctorate of divinity, in recognition of 44 years in pastoral service.
So you've been 44 years full-time in ministry?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, Mike, we've had some great fellowship here over time. Now, you've had an incredible conversion, but before you tell me about your conversion, tell me a little bit about your history.
Okay. First of all, I think I should point out that I was born in 1943, the war years, and as a result of the war, my folk were killed, and so I was put into a Roman Catholic orphanage.
Wow.
And so for the first 9 years of my life, I was in a place called Nazareth House in Aberdeen, Scotland. And then
how old were you?
I was put in an orphanage at 3.
3 years of age?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I was there till I was 11 years of age, and then was given an opportunity to come to Australia. And it happened like this. One day we had a visitor come to the orphanage in Scotland, a brother from Australia, and he told this great story about how wonderful Australia was. And the thing that really got to me was this. He said, in Western Australia, where we come from, he said the sun is always shining. Well, all I could remember about Scotland was it was cold, it was miserable, it was wet. When I heard there was going to a place, or an opportunity to go to a place where the sun was always shining, I said, that's for me. And so when he said, who'd like to go to Australia? Put up your hand. And so I put up my hand. Next thing I knew, I was on a boat with maybe about another 20 other boys who were coming to Australia at the same time. And so we arrived at Fremantle, and from Fremantle we went to a place called Boys Town, Bindoon. And in that orphanage there were 150 boys all told.
Wow. How many years were you in the orphanage?
I was there till I was 16.
16.
So from 3 years of age until I was 16, I was in the Roman Catholic Orphanage in Scotland and in Australia.
Would you, this is a bit difficult question to ask you, but can you tell us a little bit of your orphanage experience, or do you prefer not to?
Well, I can talk about it in general terms. I would sum it up by saying this. It was a very tough place. Now we need to remember this back in the 1950s, and so the rules were different then. I mean, if you spoke without being asked, you could get a hiding for that. And the Christian Brothers used to have these long straps, about 2 foot long, leather straps, about an inch thick, and in the middle of them you used to put these hacksaw blades. So
oh, you're joking.
Oh, no, that's true. And so whether you got that on the hand or got that around the backside, you really felt it. And you know, the minimum punishment you'd get would be 6 of the best. And if you were really bad, you could get maybe 20 or 30 until you lost consciousness. That's what it was like.
Oh,
they were tough, they were cruel. And I personally, on 2 occasions, was beaten into unconsciousness. Now, I've got to admit, I was naughty. I was doing things I shouldn't.
How old were you?
At that time, I would have been about 12 years of age.
And you were beaten into unconsciousness?
Yeah.
Goodness me.
But that wasn't a rare occurrence. That happened to many of the boys, because that's how they ruled. They ruled by fear. Now, the sad thing about that was, this was a Christian organization. But what it made me do was hate God. I literally used to hate him. I used to curse.
I can hardly stand listening to this story. But I understand. It must have been horrific for you as a little boy.
Yeah.
So when you finished the orphanage, you were 16?
I left the orphanage at 16.
And what did you do then?
The orphanage got me a job in Perth, working in an engineering shop, and I worked there for 4 years. Now, what happened was, the job was fine, loved it, and on Friday and Saturdays, I met up with other boys who had left the orphanage as well. And so we would get together, and we would go to the pubs. We would get ourselves tanked up, and because of what I'd learned in the orphanage, that was how to fight, to be a brawler. After we'd had a few drinks, I would take out a £2 note, hold up and say, okay, here's £2 that says nobody here can beat me. And so just about every Friday and Saturday night, I would be involved in punch-ups in the pubs. It was just the way it was. that's how we used to entertain ourselves. It was great fun. And then after we'd finished with the pubs, we would walk the streets and we would look, and there'd be maybe a dozen of us boys all together walking the streets looking for those who wanted to get involved with us. And so we would have punch-ups on the street as well. But that's what we did Fridays and Saturdays, because that was all we knew. Anyway, on one occasion, what happened was we got into a particular bad fight. The police were called, and then the police came to broke it up, but some of the boys got really savage and did some things that they shouldn't have done. That the end result was some of the boys were sent to jail, and I saw that as a warning sign.
You didn't get to jail?
No, because I wasn't the instigator of it. I took part in it.
You were smart.
I was smart. Well, maybe that's not the answer. Maybe it was just God's leading at that point in time that I didn't know anything about.
Now tell me, that was, you were 16, 17, 18
Yes,
at that stage?
I'd gone on to about 19 at that
19.
19.
Now